I
You
paid
parked
the
in G?
maximum. The
Yeah.
maximum for the A was 4 hours
Yeah,
plus
exactly.
up to 6
So
p.m.
you need up to 6, yeah. Yeah, so if you need to extend it beyond what you paid for already,
Oh, okay.
then you need to relocate your car to G, and then you can
I
exit
see.
from G.
All right, thank you.
Everyone as well, too? So if you've already parked in A and paid for parking,
We are already extended. I parked on that side. So.
yes, A, yeah, parked here as well, in G, but when your time is up and it didn't stay on, or maybe choose to G. Is everyone clear for our, unfortunately, yeah, we can't give a reimbursement for A at this point in time, but you won't have to pay for G when you relocate your car. Okay?
If at any point your parking has expired in parking lot A, please go ahead to move your
Yes.
car.
We'll have a couple of breaks as well.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Myron. Okay, so hopefully everything about parking is clear. If you park in parking lot G and H and G, you don't need to move your car. Whatever rate you pay is for the full day. But if you park in parking lot A, depending on how many hours you pay for, you do need to move your car and move it to parking lot G and H, and then you can exit with that ticket that Mark gave you. Okay? And if you park elsewhere, you also need to move your car because it's probably parked illegally. And fortunately or unfortunately, the campus is actually, parking is controlled by City of Toronto, so they're pretty diligent in issuing parking tickets. Okay, next is cell phones. Feel free to use your cell phones to take pictures. I know lots of parents and guardians do, but if you have the ringer on, please turn it off to vibrate, so to not interrupt the flow of the presentation. Washrooms are out that set of doors, straight down the hall towards the other set of exit doors, and then you make a slight right, you will find all the washrooms. If you require an alternative format to today's presentation, please let me know and we can get that to you. So in terms of the slides, like I mentioned, you can either scan the QR code, or type in that address, or the other option is to visit U of T me/get started. That's our official Get Started website. It has all the information your student needs. It also has all the information you might be looking for. So when you're on that website, you do have to scroll to the bottom of the page and look for additional supports for first-year students. And then on the drop-down menu, there is a section for parents and supporters. Or if you want to scan the QR code directly, that will lead you to a copy of today's presentation. So I'll stay here for a second in case you still need to scan the QR code or type in the address. All good? Okay. So just want to talk about quickly some of the topics we will cover today. We're certainly going to talk about, what your student can expect in their first year. We're also going to give you a quick overview of all the campus supports we have available. And we're also going to talk a little bit about planning for their university life, but also career after university. So one of the first things I wanted to share is that U of T is composed of 3 campuses. The campus you're on today, of course, is one of them. We're known as the Scarborough campus. There is another campus downtown Toronto. It's called St. George campus. And there's also a campus on the west end called Mississauga campus. So it is one university, 3 campuses. One of the questions we get asked very often is, what are the differences between the 3 campuses? Other than the physical location, of course, the degree your student earns at the end of their 20 credits is the same. The degree comes from University of Toronto. It doesn't really indicate which campus they come from. It also doesn't indicate programs and minors that they did, which is another topic we can talk about later if you have questions. And one of, I think, the beautiful things is that as a student, changed the policy. They can now take up to 10 credits, half of their degree, at another campus, if they wish. They don't have to, but if they wish to, they can take courses at Mississauga, they can take courses at St. George, and of course they can take courses here. Okay? So that's a quick overview. Of course, if they want to take courses at the other campuses, depending on what courses it is, whether it's part of their program, there's more intricacies that they're going to have to think through, and of course we encourage them to come talk to us about it. Okay? So a little bit about us. So we are the Academic Advising and Career Center. You may hear us refer to ourselves as AACC because we're so tired of saying Academic Advising and Career Center every other sentence. So we call ourselves AACC. A lot of other staff, faculty will also refer to us as AACC. So if you hear AACC a lot, hopefully by the end of today you'll know they're talking about us. So we are a team of, I think, 28 of us now. And we're a team of professionals. There are three main categories, I guess I can say, that kind of separates the team. We have a team of academic advisors, so they specialize in helping your students take courses, make sure they're on track for graduation, support them with study skills if they want to do better, improve their GPA. So most of them are actually in the computer labs with your students, and that's why I'm here. I'm not an academic advisor, but my colleagues are actually in the computer lab supporting your student, teaching them about course selection, teaching them about university policies, what do they need to graduate, so on and so forth. On the other side of the house, which I am on, I'm a career counselor, so we also support students with navigating transitions. So academic advisor, a lot of time they're more focused on, helping student transfer or transition from high school to university. And sometimes a lot of my work is more focused on helping students transition from university to further education or university to employment. Okay? But again, we all work together to help students navigate transition, both academic and career. This model of combining academic and career in one center is also very unique in North America. I believe we're one of two in all of North America that combine this model. But it's a model we truly believe in because of the collaboration we have. Students often will come in for academic advising and then end up, seeing career counseling because their academic plans are also tied to their long-term career goals, right? And vice versa, they might come in saying, my career goal is to become a doctor, but what I really need is to do better academically so I have a competitive GPA for medical school. In addition to supporting students with their transition, we also provide opportunities for students to develop skills. So one of the websites that we operate and that your student will probably get quite familiar with is the Career and Co-Curricular Learning Network website. Often you'll hear us refer to it as clnx.utoronto.ca. This is the website where students can go on to see part-time job, volunteer postings, events calendar of what's going on campus. It's also a place where they can book some of the appointments with our peer coaches. At the end of the day, I truly believe what we do is to support students in making informed decisions about their future. If you ask me or any of my colleagues, I think we all believe that we are here to provide them with guidance, provide them with information, so at the end of the day, they can make a decision that they feel confident about. It may be a decision about whether to take a course, whether to drop a course, whether to apply to this job, whether to apply to this graduate school, right? So decision can be small or big, but when a student is in the middle of making that decision, I think all the decision feels really big. And we're here to support them in all the decision making. Lastly, engagement, we're gonna take a look at some transitional factors that may cause stress, and then we're gonna go on a roller coaster ride with all the ups and downs of first year. So your role is still essential, but I think we also have to acknowledge that your role as a parent, as a guardian, as a family member is likely gonna change and evolve. Right now, a lot of you are probably the caretaker, the chauffeur, the cook, right? Well, I don't know what else you guys are doing, the alarm clock, the reminder, right? And some of you may still continue to play those roles, but you may also find it nice that you may no longer need to play some of those roles now that your student is transitioning into university. So I think we have to acknowledge the upcoming year is not only transitional for your student, but also probably transitional for you. So we all play different roles, and I think we need to come together to make sure that your student feels fully supported. So the main character in the story is definitely your student. They're now treated as independent adults, so they need to act as independent adults. They are responsible for adhering to the code of student conduct and the code of academic conduct at the university. One of the things that's kind of unspoken, but we really encourage them, is to also seek out and take advantage of opportunity to learn and develop. And that's both inside and outside of the classroom. Okay, a lot of them think, oh, I'm just here to study. So they sometimes miss out on a lot of opportunity outside the classroom. The other thing we encourage them to do is to self-assess throughout their first year, throughout their time at university, and to seek out and ask for help and support along the way. One of the things that I think students hopefully learn sooner rather than later is that asking for help is not a weakness, it's actually a skill, it's a strength that we want them to develop in university. As the environment and supports at UTSC as staff and faculty, we treat students as independent adults. We challenge students to reach their potential. I think this is especially true if you ask faculty. They will all say, we're not here to babysit the students, we're here to challenge them, right, to learn. But what we also have to do sometimes, not always the most pleasant, but we have to administer policies and rules. And the reason we do that is we want to make the university fair for all. But of course, we also take it upon ourselves to make sure we're providing opportunity for students to learn and develop in a safe environment. And we understand that the university policies, procedures, systems can be very complex. So we are here also to help them understand and navigate the system. Lastly, family. You are still going to be trusted advisors and support. A lot of times you probably find your student coming to you for reassurance, right? Should I drop this course? Right? Should I stay in this course? Right? So those are still some of the things that they need support and reassurance with. And again, a reminder to remind you to encourage your student to take advantage of opportunity to develop personally, academically, and professionally. And encouraging students to, again, meet their potential, but also their responsibilities. All right, transitional factors. So I'm curious, from your point of view, what are some changes or differences your students are going to experience from high school to university?
A lot of new people to new faces.
New faces, yeah. Social friendship, yeah. Meeting new people. Anything else?
Maybe transportation, like getting to.
Okay, yeah. Longer commute probably if they're not living on campus. Or if they're living on campus, that's also a huge change, physical environment. Yeah.
Wake up early in the morning.
Maybe, or maybe not.
Yeah.
Depending on their class schedule. Yeah. Yes.
The extended school hours.
Okay. 3 o'clock. Correct, yeah, class schedule, very different, yeah.
I think just the whole organization of it to time management, there's all three.
Absolutely, yes, yes. Yes, you guys got a lot of the factors. Okay, so here is how we kind of categorize them or summarize them. Physical environment is going to be quite different. I think a lot of students tell me, I come from a school where it's just one building, right? Where I'm in the same classroom, right? Where I walk to the classroom next door, it takes me 2 seconds. Not necessarily the case on campus. In fact, we are an expanding, growing campus. You may notice towards the other side, the Toronto Pan Am Sports Center. There's a new building next door. I don't know how many of you noticed. That's actually going to be our new home. We're actually moving in August. And they're also building a new medical school next door. So there's a lot of building construction happening. So students now have potentially may have courses, one course on this side of the campus, and their next course could start in an hour on the other side of campus. So one of the questions we get from students are, how do I get there, right? So one of the things that is a norm on campus is we have something we call UTSc time. So if your course is set from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, your professor, the faculty know to not start lecturing or to not start class until 10 after the hour. It's to kind of allow for travel time, okay? So if your student have back-to-back courses, they don't need to panic. There is time for them to get to class, okay? And sometimes it will be the case that they have that back-to-back classes. So physical environment is definitely going to be different. The other, as a lot of you have suggested, is the class and study time, okay? So right now, they're probably working on their courses. They're working on creating their timetable for the fall semester. And a lot of them will quickly realize, I don't have to, wake up that early if I don't have any morning classes, okay? Some of them may opt for classes that start later, right? Some of them may not have a choice. They may have to take that 8 o'clock calculus class that's required, okay? And the other thing is they will realize it's not going to be a full day from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. It could be possible that, they have a very full day Tuesday and Thursday, but they only have one class on Wednesday. It's possible, okay? The other thing they will also quickly realize is that, oh my God, I don't have that many time inside the classroom. Typically, a class is about 3 hours lecture, okay? Again, it can be split into 3 separate days. We have some classes that's 1 hour lecture Monday morning, 1 hour lecture Wednesday morning, and 1 hour lecture Friday morning. You could also have a class that's 5 to 8 on a Tuesday night for the 3 hours lecture, okay? So different schedule, different styles may be possible. The other thing we try to stress with them is that they may realize the time they spend inside the classroom is actually a lot less, maybe comparing it to high school, but we are also kind of counting on them spending time outside of the classroom to prepare for their class. So typically we suggest for each hour you are spending inside the classroom, you should be prepared to spend 2 to 3 hours outside of the classroom. The 2 to 3 hours may be to do your readings, to review your notes, to prepare for your labs, any of those things, to go to the library and do research, to prepare your assignments, right? So very quickly they will realize they actually don't have that much free time. The academic demands, of course, is also very different. I think one of the things we hear from students very, very often is university move at a much faster pace. A lot of time what you cover in one semester at high school, you're covering in 1 month at university. the student's grade. 2 midterms and 1 final. So a midterm may be 30% each, and then the final is worth 40%. Versus high school, I think a lot of students are used to, a 10% assignment here, a 10% participation, 20% project, right? And there's sometimes a lot of room to make up marks. Not often the case in university. There's still some courses, don't get me wrong, not all the courses are the same. There's still courses that have, participation marks. There's still courses with smaller projects along the way. There are also courses that have no final exam. It's a paper or a project that they submit at the end. But generally speaking, one of the things that students find shocking is how much the midterm and finals are worth. Some of you already mentioned the social environment. They're going to be meeting new people. Again, a lot of our students come from fairly small and tight-knit high school. Now they're in a much bigger campus. They might not be coming with anyone else they know, right? So meeting people is certainly something they're also going to practice and get better at. And with freedom also comes responsibility, right? Some of them are going to quickly realize, oh my God, I'm in a classroom of 500 people. That's our biggest lecture hall right now on campus. It fits about 500 people. We use it for psychology. I think we also use it sometimes for calculus. What your student may quickly realize is that no one is taking attendance. So no one's going to notice if I don't show up. Some of them may take advantage of that, right? Some of them may realize, okay, I need to be responsible. Even though no one's checking attendance, I need to make sure I go to my classes and I'm, absorbing and learning the material. Okay? So there are a lot more freedom that they're going to experience in university, but only suggesting that they need to be more responsible. And we also recognize that this time is a very critical time for their self-development, figuring out who they are, figuring out what their interests are, figuring out what their strengths are. So there's also different resources and different activities we encourage them to take part in to help them, to support them with that self-development and identity. Anything else that you can think of that we missed?
You know what, I would just say, because my son's in 3rd year
Yeah.
at St. George, and
Yeah.
what he realized, what he said to his sister, is that university humbled him. Like, he thought he was, he was a really good student, all the rest of it, and then he went to university, and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm not the top student anymore, my grades have gone down, so that was really humbling for him. He's in a very, an intense program, but I think that was the biggest takeaway, what he said to his sister was, be prepared, it will humble you, so.
No, that's good advice. Again, right? Like sometimes I think students arrive and they were the top student in their high school, and then they realize in their lecture, people to their right, people to their left were also top student of their high school,
Yeah.
right? For sure. Thank you for that. Okay, so we want to put a little bit more focus on time management. And I forgot to mention, the slides we're seeing right now, we're presenting it to the students too. Okay, so not only we're also talking to them about the transitional factors, we're talking to them about the importance of developing time management skill for school. Because a lot of them might be used to high school being a 5-month term, right? Where they have almost 4 months and 2 weeks, 3 weeks to absorb.
We just got a couple of people coming in late due to
Sure.
traffic conditions.
Yeah, no
I just
worries.
don't want to disturb you.
Come on
Please
in.
let us
So they might be used to, having a longer semester to take in all the content, to take in all the material, and generally, if I remember correctly, I think exam is kind of crammed into 1 week, right? University is not the same, okay? We are still a semester campus, so each semester, September to December is considered 1 semester. But in that 4 months, generally the teaching, the lecture happens in the first 3 months. And we dedicate a whole month to exams because we love them. but then they will get divided into smaller tutorials that are generally headed by a teaching assistant. So tutorials are usually around, I think at most 30 students per tutorial. So a smaller classroom, more intimate, hopefully they can, ask questions, right? Ask for clarification if they were too scared or hesitant to ask in the big lecture halls. So again, you can see the students have 3 tutorials out of the 5 courses they're taking, okay? But you can also see they have labs on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So this is what a typical schedule would look like for a student taking 5 courses. Yes?
A question. In doing the timetable online, we realized that every other week that those will be hosted.
Potentially.
Oh.
Yeah. And some of you, your student may also realize that the practical or the tutorial, you cannot add it right now because they actually assign you into the tutorial. So it is important that you get into the lectures, right? Because that signifies you're in the class. And then once you're in the class, they will assign you, they will say your tutorial is Tuesday mornings.
Can you,
And that will take into consideration your existing schedule because we had a number.
Yes and no. Sometimes they know what are the popular classes, especially for first year. So, for example, the registrar office know not to have the first year biology class with the first year chemistry class. Because chances are students usually take both of them together, right? But it may happen that your biology tutorial is scheduled for Tuesday morning, let's say 10 to 11. And then your chemistry tutorial is also from 10 to 12. So then usually we will encourage the student to go talk to their teaching assistant to get switched into another tutorial. Because generally there's lots of tutorial to choose from.
So what you're saying is best to confirm the lecture classes and the practicals and the tutorials with that.
Yeah, a lot of time they won't even let you register for tutorial just yet. Yeah. But if you're in the lecture, you're in the course. Okay?
excuse me,
Yeah,
can
no
you
problem.
expand on the tutorial, what it entails?
So tutorial generally is, like I mentioned, headed by a senior student or a master or a PhD student. It's meant to kind of review content, right? And so because it's smaller, hopefully it's also providing a safer environment for students to ask questions, to ask for clarity on different content. Generally before midterms, they will also review, right, to prepare them for midterms or prepare them for finals.
I see, okay.
First year peers, do you have anything you want to add? Like how would you describe a tutorial?
Also just to clarify, practicals, they will also have a chance to switch their section the first few weeks of class. But yeah, the tutorial, it's typically like that. Some courses don't actually offer. It's generally either to review, sometimes it's to review and assign.
Oh.
So sometimes they're technically attendance is optional.
Also like I know like for one of my courses in first year it was like a statistic course and then there are like lab assignments but like you generally like do it online in the class and then you hand it in the class as well. So I think onto like that attendance portion, like sometimes they also might have quizzes.
Yeah, so they could take various shapes or forms, but I think mostly it is to provide students with a more intimate learning environment. Yes?
Thank you.
A part of the classes and the tutorials, there is no another option for the student to reach the professor or the
There is, yeah, we'll talk about it in a bit. Professor typically hosts office hours, so that's kind of open door policy where they make themselves available a certain hours of the week, right? So that's one thing, and then another thing that usually facilitates learning is something called the facilitated study groups. So again, these are peer-led. It's optional, right? It's something students can choose to go to or sign up for. And we typically have a facilitated study group for most of the first year classes. Yeah. So there's a lot of different supports available, not just lectures and tutorials. Okay? But student generally gets pretty happy when they see this. Oh my God, I'm gonna have so much fun, I'm gonna have so much free time, right? But some once a week. They may also join a student association. They may play a little basketball Thursday night. What's missing? Pop quiz. Someone wanted a pop quiz.
First
Yeah,
time we're talking about.
yeah. What about commuting to campus? Okay.
Yeah.
I used to think this is being pretty generous, putting 1 hour for commute, but now I think it's a norm, right? To get to Toronto from Toronto is an hour now. Right? And some of your students may have an even longer commute than this. Unless again, they're living on campus or close to campus, right? But I do think most of our students are commuter students, okay? So we also gonna have to account for that time. And then of course, we also want them to still spend some time with you and their friends, right? So let's put in a little bit family and friend, social time Monday night, Saturday, maybe spend a little bit time on Sunday with you. And then you're right, what happened to studying? And we put in a study time based on our recommendation of every hour in class, 2 to 3 hours outside the class. So you can see very quickly how the timetable kind of adds up. They don't even get a lunch on Wednesdays. They may need to eat on their commute. So part of the messaging is we're also having a conversation with the students. Is this what you want your schedule to look like? Because you have flexibility, you have freedom. You don't have to take 5 courses if you think this is too crazy, right? And for some of them, they may also be athletes. They gotta go for practices. So where are they gonna fit that in? So they might be looking at a lower course load, or they may not be holding a part-time job, right? So depending on the student's scenario, depending on the things they have on their plate, their schedule may look different, right? Maybe a student doesn't necessarily join a club and an association in their first year. Maybe all they do is they play a little basketball on Thursday, right? So we are sharing with the student that you can kind of, in a way, design your schedule, but we also encourage them to acknowledge everything they have going on in their lives, in their schedule, and to kind of plot time in their schedule for it. Any questions about the student timetable? So now we're gonna go through a typical first year, starting in August. Also what I call the roller coaster ride. So we start with a lot of excitement, right? Like just like when you're about to go on a roller coaster, but maybe also a little bit of fear because you don't know what's gonna happen. So in August, we typically start with the orientation organized by our student government that we call SCSU. Okay? So typically during the last few days in August, early September, we gather the student on campus, we divide them into these different colors, and they start to meet people. Orientation is a great time for your student to start getting climatized to the UTSc environment. I can't tell you how many times I hear from students that they met their best friend at orientation. Okay, so I do encourage you to encourage your student to sign up for orientation. After orientation, we move quickly into September. A lot of adjustment happening. They might be adjusting to a new environment, living environment, living arrangement. They may also be adjusting to a longer commute. They're also adjusting to the new academic environment and structure. They might be busy making friends, meeting new people. For a lot of them, this may also be the first time they really had to manage their schedule, manage their time, and potentially manage money. For some students, they do experience FOMO, especially if they registrar's website. We quickly moved then into October, and again, this is sometimes a shock to the student system. They could have midterms as early as October. Okay, so for the student that are thinking, I'm just gonna ease into it, you can't really, because you could have a midterm first week of October. So they're gonna get used to, they're adjusting to the new workload. And as they get into the first midterms, first assignments, projects, they may also start to get marks back, feedback from faculty. And again, it's quite normal for them to sometimes see a drop in their grades. Again, they're continuing to learn how to manage their time, how to manage their money, and they might need to start thinking about dropping courses. October is also a time where you're deepening friendships, but also sometimes social relationships issue may arise. Some of them may try to live at two places at the same time, right? They may have, a space on campus, but they might be going home and staying there too. They may want two sets of everything. In October, reading week, this is new this year, so we used to have reading week, but the week we have Thanksgiving. So it usually follows the Thanksgiving Monday, but this year is the first year that is not the case. We have reading week October 28th to November 1st. Reading week, like the name suggests, they do readings. There are no lectures, there are no tutorial, there are no labs. They're not expected to be on campus unless they want to be. Don't get me wrong, the university is still open, we still come to work, okay, but there are no lectures. It's meant for students to maybe catch up on their readings, which is generally the case, right? But they could catch up on readings at a beach, they could catch up on readings at home, right? So there's a little bit of flexibility. But please know, especially if you have students that study at UTSc before, this year it is a change in date. It's later than normal. Reading week is also a time where we do a lot of programming on campus because we know they don't have lectures. So for example, at the Academic Advising and Career Center, we host our job shadowing program during reading week, where we give student opportunities to shadow professionals in different industries, different areas, so they can see what it's like to work as an emergency room nurse. They can see what it's like to work as an HR manager, okay? So a lot of activities also take place during reading week because a lot of departments also offer lots of programming during reading week. Yes?
So just a confirmation, so reading week comes after the midterm exam?
Depends on the course. So it may happen, they may have a midterm right before reading week and they may have another midterm after. Yeah. So it depends on the faculty. Okay. Then we move into November, which sometimes is a rough time for a lot of us because the weather is changing, the day is getting shorter, darker, right? A lot of time flu season, so physical illness may kick in. They might be feeling drained. They may also start to get some of their midterm results back. Sometimes that's a good sign because they realize they gotta buckle down and study harder, right? So there may be change in academic behavior, but unfortunately sometimes we also see change in academic behavior that's not so good, right? They may get a really disappointing result from their midterm, and some of them may start to feel hopeless or disappointed in themselves, right? So we encourage them to come in to chat with us to see how they can get better. Another really important day to know in November, November 18th. So remember I mentioned after September, you don't have the opportunity to add courses anymore. they realize, I'm really not liking this material, I don't think I can do well, I don't think I can pass the course, dropping a course might be their best option. By dropping a course before November 18th, it disappears from their transcript like it never happened. So sometimes that is the best option. Unfortunately, I hope it doesn't happen to your students, but for some students, that is the best option. Yes?
What about if that course is needed, so the student has to take it again, and again it's hard? How many times can they do that?
They can do it as many times as they want. However, we will hope that if they failed it the first time, or if they don't succeed first time, come in and talk to us, right? Are there other options, right? I think sometimes students, they get stubborn themselves, like, I need to pass this course. But sometimes there may be other options that they can use in place of it, right? So yeah, I will encourage them to come and have a conversation. Okay, yes?
What is the minimum number of courses that they need to take to maintain, like full-time status?
Good question, but also trick question, because full-time status according from what perspective? Generally speaking, from OSAP perspective, I believe in order to be a full-time student is 3 courses per semester, minimum. But you may see a lot of time on the sample schedule, we put 5. Okay? It's not that your student is required to take 5, but if they would like to graduate within 4 years and have all their summers off, then they need to take 5 courses per semester in order to graduate in 4 years. Okay, but it's not a requirement. In fact, I think most of our students sometimes will take a lighter course load, but because we are a tri-semester campus, they can also take courses in the summer. Okay?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
What about like who going for the life science?
Mm-hmm.
So if they need to do the 5 courses, then they have to do the co-op also, right? So how they can be managed that?
So if your student is admitted into a co-op program, the 5 courses is co-op is not included, right? So they may need to do 5 courses plus co-op prep course. Yeah, so it's in addition to the 5 courses, but I don't know if you're asking about the work term,
Yeah.
right? So for a co-op student, they don't get their summers off. So if they're taking courses in the fall, they go to co-op in the winter, they're back here in the summer taking 5 courses.
So the co-op is mandatory?
If they're in the co-op program, it's not mandatory. They can choose not to do the co-op program. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If like the first year when they start like life science, they're gonna drop the co-op for the first
Sorry,
year.
they can.
They can or they can't.
Sorry, I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm asking like they took the 5 courses.
Yeah?
And drop the first year co-op program.
If your student's in a co-op program, they usually are recommended to take 5 courses plus the co-op prep course. If they decide that's too heavy or they no longer want to do the co-op program, yes, they can drop the co-op. Yeah. Yes.
I was wondering for summer, how many programs can they take? Like how many courses?
Summer semester is like any other semester, so if they wish, they can take 5 courses.
So how long is the summer period?
Same, so each semester is 4 months, September to December, January to April, May to August.
Oh.
So they really don't get a break. So if they do it all year through, they are in courses every month.
If they don't take it.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, did you also have a question?
Yeah, mine was that can they take the co-op courses, the preparatory courses in summer, just the 2 of them?
So that's tricky because it really depends on the co-op program. So once they're in the co-op program, the co-op will put them into the prep course they need, depending on the time. So right now, I don't really know the answer to that because it depends on the co-op program.
Because I saw the schedule, so if they do it after the 5 courses, it will be too much of
Yeah, so it depends, right? So they may need to, like the co-op may say, you don't do the co-op prep course in the fall, you do it in the winter, because they are also trying to space them out. You don't want all the students going out on co-op at the same time, right?
So they
Yeah.
can do the co-op now and maybe do one elective in summer.
Well, the co-op department is actually gonna tell them when to do the co-op. Yeah, but you are absolutely right. If your student is finding that 5 courses plus co-op is too much, they can certainly drop it to 4 plus co-op.
Yeah, but they also said that they have to finish 10 courses in one academic year, right?
Yeah.
So,
No, they don't. That's the recommended. Remember, when you want to graduate in 4 years, you need to do 5 and 5, right? But if it's not essential to you to graduate in the 4-year period, they can do 4 and 4 and 2 if they want, right? Sometimes, again, I don't think it's recommended, but sometimes students will even do like 4 courses in the fall, 5 courses in the winter, and let's say they go on co-op in the summer, sometimes they can still take a night course while they're on their co-op with their co-op supervisor's permission, okay? Yes.
So, again, one thing, co-op program, the university or like the department will be decided where they will do the co-op or starting.
Co-op?
Yeah.
Okay, so co-op is like any job application, right? It's not a placement service. The university doesn't just place your student at a company. It is an application system. So what is co-op? Essentially, all the co-op students have access to a specialized database of jobs, and those are co-op jobs. Only co-op students can see them. Only co-op students can apply to them. And they go through the same kind of like the job search process. They need to apply, typically with their resume, with their cover letter. They need to go through an interview, and then the employer and the student decide if they're kind of like a match. Okay? Yeah.
I thought co-op was not until 3rd year. No?
Depends again on the program.
On the life
Yeah,
science.
but a lot of time it's true. Students don't go on co-op until 3rd year.
Okay, and
Yeah.
sorry, for every year, is it not 5 courses every year? It's a total of 20 for the 4
Yeah, so
years?
again, right, if you want your student to graduate like in that timely basis and knowing that they're gonna go on co-op, then yes, it would be 5 co-op, 5 co-op, 5 co-op, right? But I think, I get your question, I totally appreciate it, but the reality is we have to leave room for flexibility, okay? Right now, your student may start with 5 courses and realize it's too much. I need to lower my course load because I want to do well. Or your student may think, oh, 5 courses is easy. I'm actually up it to 6. They can up it to 6 if they want. Okay? They may also realize, I need more time to look for co-op. They may not be ready to go out to co-op as scheduled, right? So there's flexibility in changing up their sequencing, sometimes depending on the program. And let's also be honest, sometimes it has to do with the labor market, okay? They might be seeking a co-op when it's a tough job market out there. So sometimes they may delay their co-op, and rather than going out on co-op, they may study instead and go out to co-op the next semester, right? So I understand the intention or the anxiety or the nervousness and wanting to plan out your students' 4 years, but we have to leave some room for flexibility. Okay? Yeah.
When my daughter was actually trying to enroll in courses through the account, what I saw was, for a course, for example, Health and So On,
Mhm.
she would go and see only the fall and winter, but there was.
Yeah, so right now you can only do course selection for fall and winter.
But then you say it's kind of a tri-semester university.
Yeah, so summer becomes available in February of 2025.
And the similar courses are also offered in this fall.
Generally speaking, similar courses, again, being fully transparent, usually a little less in the summer, okay? But summer is, I don't want you to think of it as summer school, right? It's not remedial, it's like any other semester, okay? So a student, again, if they want to fast track, they could do 5 courses in the fall, 5 courses in the winter, 5 courses in the summer. It's possible. Yes?
Thinking about the flexibility that you are talking about, so what is the time that your students normally graduate?
So I think, again, if we're looking at it based on statistics, and I don't have the latest, I apologize, I think we see a lot of our students graduate 5 years, not 4. Yeah, on average. Again, we also see a lot of students who sometimes, finish like 15 of their credits and decide to take a break. They can come back at any time. At the University of Toronto, your credits do not expire. That's why we also have sometimes, people returning after having a wonderful career. They're now retired and they're coming back to finish their degree. It's also possible.
So, following that idea, so you never lose your student status at the University of Toronto. There is no possibility.
You don't lose your student status, but if you haven't taken a course for a full year, they shut down your Acorn account. So you need to come back to the registrar and you need to re-enroll, okay, for them to open up your Acorn account so you can add and register for courses. Okay? Yes?
If you're accepted under the fall program, can you change it right away to non-fall?
I believe so, yes.
Because
Essentially.
I have read in the website that from fall you cannot change it to non-fall.
No, I think you can at any point. I guess you just have to think about, like, if I was to talk to a student who is thinking about dropping co-op, I would want to understand, what are some of the reasoning, right? Is it they're trying to finish their degree faster? Generally, co-op is seen as a really great complement to their education because when they graduate, they will already have work experience under their belt. Yeah.
So, since it will be the enrollment tomorrow, so she can just immediately choose the.
So I think right now, picking courses, co-op or non-co-op, the courses are the same, right? Because whether they're doing, I don't know, like biochemistry co-op or biochemistry non-co-op, the courses they have to take are the same.
So in first year, they're allowed to have that 2.5 credits.
They're allowed to take up to 5 courses, 2.5 credits per semester,
So
yes.
it's 2 majors, like it's 2 majors.
Not necessarily. Okay, it gets complicated. What I can tell you is your student is getting all this information. Okay, the basics that you need to know is in order for your student to earn their degree at the University of Toronto, doesn't matter Mississauga or St. George or Scarborough, they need 20 credits. Okay, 20 credits is 40 courses because each course is half a credit on this campus. Out of those 40 courses, there are 3 combinations they can go for, okay? That has to do with your question about 2 majors. They can either do 1 specialist, or 2 majors, or 1 major and 2 minors. So a specialist is usually 12 to 14 credits. So you might be thinking, you just told me they need 20. So if they only need 12 to 14, what happens to the rest? The rest are called electives. That means they can take it in whatever course they want. If they do 2 majors, a major could be anywhere from 7 to 8 credits. So if they do 2 majors, let's say both major are 8 credits, that's 16. So the leftover 4 credits are your students' electives. If they do 1 major and 2 minors, again, a major could be 8 credits. Minors are generally 4 credits each. So similarly, they will also have 4 credits of electives. Okay, but your student, again, this is where some of that flexibility comes in because they can choose to do a specialist, they can choose to do a major, they can choose to do a major and 2 minors. know a lot of times students' question is like, which one is better, right? I cannot give you a solid answer because it depends on the student. If a student really have a significant interest in one subject area and one subject area only, that's all they want to study, the specialist makes a lot of sense, right? I have definitely have students, I just want to study neuroscience because I'm so, curious about the brain, right? So a specialist in neuroscience really makes sense. But we also have students, I really like neuroscience, but it's too sciencey, right? I also want some of the social aspect. So they may decide to combine neuroscience major with sociology major, right? Or they can combine neuroscience and maybe they have an interest, they have a hobby in music. They could do a major in music, right? And then on the other hand, for someone with a lot of varied interests, right, jack of all trades, they may opt to do one major and two minors, okay? And again, your student doesn't have to make that decision today, doesn't have to make that decision in September, in December. We encourage them to start thinking about possible combinations, but they can change it in their second year. They can change it in their third year. They can change it in their fourth year if they really want to, okay? Again, not gonna lie, if changing it in fourth year may delay graduation, right? But they have that flexibility. Yes?
These things we did in the transcript, like specialist to major.
On your transcript, yes, not on your degree. Yeah, on your transcript, it does say what programs you completed. Okay? Have I confused you all? Okay, so again, rest assured, it's important that your student understand all these things. And if they don't understand all these things, hopefully they know where to come and ask. Okay? So again, November 18th is really important. But let's say they missed November 18th. They were stubborn, they didn't want to drop the course November 18th. And then December comes around and they realize, really not going to pass this course, really not going to do well. They get one more shot. They have an opportunity to do a late withdrawal. In this case, they have until December 3rd to do late withdrawal. The difference between November 18th and December 3rd is November 18th, magic, it disappears like it never happened. December 3rd, it stays on your transcript, the course. But instead of a grade, it says LWD, late withdrawal. So it doesn't impact your GPA, okay? So I will again say, if a student is caught in a situation where they know they're gonna fail the course, there's no way mathematically that they can pass the course, then I would encourage the student to take the late withdrawal. Because it's much better than taking a fail, which would impact their GPA. Okay? The other option is they can choose to do a credit, no credit option on a course. And I know, again, it gets complicated. You can only use credit, no credit on a course that's outside of your program. So let's say you're doing a major in human biology. You cannot do credit, no credit in biology, okay? But let's say I am studying human biology. For fun, or for my own interest, I decide to take a Spanish course because I always wanted to learn the language. But upon taking the course, I realized, oh my God, I'm not really good at this. I can't do the rolling R, right? I can probably pass the course, but this course is gonna drag down my average in the other courses. My best option in this case may be to declare credit, no credit. So all I need to do is get 50% and I earn the credit. And again, the 50% is not gonna impact my GPA, okay? But you cannot do this if the course in question is part of your program, okay? So those are some of the options. So again, chat with us if they're thinking about dropping a course or if they're not sure about credit, no credit, right? So we can answer those questions. The last thing I want to point out is final exam this year is going to be from December 6th to December 23rd. So please, please, please don't book vacation anytime before December 23rd. Because once you book it, I can tell you your student is probably going to have an exam on the 23rd. Okay? Life just is funny that way. Okay? So book it to leave on the 24th, you're good to go. But don't book anything prior to the 23rd. Yes?
Will the credit, no credit course be counted inside those 40 courses or that's?
Yeah, it's credit, so you get counted towards your 40 courses. But because there's no numerical grade attached, no impact on GPA. Yes. Okay? So that concludes the fall semester. And after a short break, they get to do it all over again. Okay?
Next one.
So January is a fresh start to the semester. And they are also going to get all their fall semester marks back. Sometimes it's a pleasant surprise, sometimes it's not so pleasant. So again, it could mean change in academic behavior, right? Definitely in January, we see a lot of eager students with New Year resolutions, which is great. But a lot of time we're also talking to them about how to maintain, right, that study habit. And for a lot of students, summer job search starts in January. Similarly to September, first day of classes is January 6th. The deadline to add and change courses is January 19th. And again, similarly, there is a different set of financial deadlines. February, winter blues, right? Similar kind of to November. A lot of workload, stress, midterms. Reading week in this case is the week of Family Day. So February 17th to 21st. Keep in mind, because they're getting reading week in February, they no longer get a March break in March. March is what we refer to at the AANCC as choosing your program month. Okay? So March is signifying almost the end to your student's first year. So unless they were directly admitted into a program, so if they were directly admitted into journalism, management, paramedicine, those are already a program. But if they were admitted into life sciences, social science and humanities, environmental and physical science, that means at the end of their first year, they need to choose a program and apply. Okay? We'll talk a little bit more about that, but another important deadline is deadline to drop classes, March 24th. So similar to the fall semester, if they want a course to disappear from their transcript, they need to drop it by March 24th. So choosing your program is a critical time and sometimes nerve-wracking for a lot of students. Okay, so again, we pretty much make the entire month of March, we have choosing your program month campaign. We want to make sure they know what types of programs are available. We want to also make sure they're checking in with themselves in terms of what are they interested in, what are their strengths. And of course, a lot of times students are wondering about what career opportunities are available if I do this program versus this program. We also have lots of resources online, including the program pathway, including student testimonials that have done the various programs we offer. So if you're interested, again, you can take a quick scan of the QR code if you want to take a look at our program pathway document. And some of you may have already heard or know that UTSc is also introducing a new pathway Pathway to Health Profession Certificate. So if your student is interested, they can certainly go online and learn more about the certificate. We quickly move into April, which again is final exams. Usually at the end of the semester, unfortunately, we see a lot of foregoing of healthy habits. Sleeping, working out, healthy eating, maintaining friendship, all of a sudden doesn't seem as important because they're busy cramming. Okay? But we try to have various messaging, programming to remind them that eating, sleeping, having a social life is still important to keep them healthy. In April, a lot of students may also be looking forward to the break or looking forward to coming home. They may also be feeling really proud about finishing first year, but also a lot of them may be still struggling or thinking about the combination of the program they want to go into. So again, similarly to the fall semester, late withdrawal, credit, no credit, the deadline is April 4th. They need to make that decision by April 4th. And then we have exams from April 9th to 30th. And if they wish, like I said, they can take more courses from May to August. Okay? But again, some of our students choose to not study because they'd rather be working. Some of our students may choose to participate in the summer abroad program, where they actually take a U of T course taught by U of T faculty, but somewhere else in the world. They can learn Italian in Italy. They can take a course in Ecuador on marine life. They can take a course in Hong Kong, learning international business. Okay, question?
If you're admitted under life sciences,
Yeah?
can we choose courses under health sciences tomorrow?
Yes. So there are, for courses, there may be enrollment, right? So you would just need to make sure your student is reviewing the course timetable, because depending on the course, some courses may be given priority to students in the category, and then after a certain time, it opens up to everyone. So you would need to check that information on the course timetable. Okay? And again, for May to August, some students may also choose to volunteer, and some of them may choose to take time off to travel or pursue hobbies. A lot of our students also through the summer company may choose to start a business, right? The government gives you $3,000 to try out your business idea. So if that's something they're interested in, we can definitely talk to them more about it. Okay, so here, I'm going to show you a few things on the registrar's website. So first of all, this is the UTSc homepage. You can certainly search here, and I would just type in registrar. Okay, and that will lead you to the registrar's homepage. And then earlier I was talking about the course timetable. So that can be found here. So you may need to punch in the course code for the course that your student wants to take. Right, so let's say it's Bio A01. So once you get here, you can see information about the course. Right, so this does show that biology course is restricted to people in these categories. So if your student was not admitted into one of these categories, they have to wait until a certain time before they can take this course. Okay, so all the information you need to review would be on the course timetable. And then the other questions we get, of course, is calendar. Okay, so again, if you're looking for some bedtime reading, if you have insomnia, I recommend the course calendar. It is everything you could possibly want to know. Remember all we talked about, 20 credits, you know, credit, no credit, things like that. But this is also where you can find, so for example, and again, your student is learning all this, okay? But let's say your student is interested in doing a major in human biology. They need to go to the calendar. They need to go to the calendar to see, so first of all, this major is actually 8.5 credits they need. And here are the courses that they recommend you take. Suggested sequence, okay? It's not required sequence, but these are required courses. So before your student can graduate with a major in human biology, they need to have all these courses completed. Okay? And again, keep in mind, it's not everything, right? So for example, for required number 8, they just need to pick one course from this list. Okay? It's not every single course. They would be here forever. Okay? So make sure your student is reading it carefully, because sometimes we have students panicking. Oh my God, how am I going to fit all these courses? For requirement number 7, it's 1.5. So how many from this list am I picking? 3, exactly. Okay, they don't need to have everything on this list. Okay, so of course, as they move into 2nd, 3rd, 4th year, they're gonna have more flexibility, more option. First year, you have to start with Bio A01 and A02. You don't have much option. Okay? So these are some of the important things that your students should get familiar with on the registrar's website. Okay? Before I navigate away from the registrar's office, any additional questions? Okay, great. Again, I'll stay here for a little bit, but we essentially summarize all the academic dates for you on one slide if you want to take a quick picture. So it has the class time, it has all the deadlines, and remember, these are academic deadlines, not financial, okay? Okay, also want to remind you, so you can remind your students that they should all have access to an online hub called First Year at UTSc. And a lot of the things that we talked about, that they learned today in their sessions, is summarized on this portal. Tips for navigating first year, course selection tips, how to get involved. They can find everything at the First Year at UTSc hub. I also want to remind you that your students' records are now all digital and they're confidential. So if you're wondering about their grades, their record, their financial account, their class timetable, everything is found on their Acorn. Only they have access to their Acorn. Okay? So we encourage you to if you were come to me and ask me about your student's financial account, I will not be able to tell you anything. Okay? All right, for those of you that might need to go move your car, please feel free to do so. Don't want you to get a ticket. But we are going to move quickly into the next section of our presentation, which is about campus supports. So Academic Advising and Career Center is one of the departments under the umbrella of Office of Student Experience and Well-Being. A lot of time, again, you may hear us refer to the Office of Student Experience and Well-Being as OSU, okay? Because we really like acronyms on this campus, okay? So under the OSU umbrella, you have us, the Academic Advising and Career Center, you have student housing and residence, you have athletics and recreation, you have health and wellness, you have accessibility services, you have student life programs, you have international student center, okay? So we are a pretty big department on campus, and what we do is we want to ensure that students have a great experience while they're here, but they're also well while they're at university. So we want to talk about some of the academic resources related to their academics, other supportive departments on campus, and a little bit about the fun stuff. Okay? So I think I mentioned this earlier, but it is something I feel strongly about, is I really want to make sure students are getting the most out of their University of Toronto experience. And that means also learning and experiencing outside the classroom. Okay? After research project have always shown that there is a positive correlation when students are getting involved on and off campus and academic success. Okay? They kind of go hand in hand. So not only do we want students to put in the time and effort learning inside the classroom, we also want to make sure that they are engaging outside the classroom. Again, that could look differently for everyone. For some people, it might be joining a student group, joining a student club, it may be getting a part-time job, it may be participating in job shadowing, like I mentioned. But there's really a wide variety of activities available that we want them to get involved with. So in terms of academic support, we already talked about professors, we talked a little bit about TA, teaching assistants, right? So again, professors and TAs are typically available in lecture and also in tutorials, and they usually also have office hours. It's usually posted on the course outline during the first day of class. Okay? So encourage your student to visit professors during office hours. I think the number one feedback I hear from students is it's really scary. I don't want to do it, right? And I admit, I felt the same way 20 years ago. I don't want to talk to professors. But I think sometimes it just takes that first time to realize it's actually really helpful, or the professor's actually really friendly and really nice. Okay? Again, I cannot speak to every single professor on campus, but generally speaking, I find the professor here actually very approachable, very friendly. Okay? So do encourage your student to go talk to them. Professors often tell us that they're bored during office hours because they have to keep their door open because it's office hours, right? But sometimes they don't have anyone to talk to. Okay? So encourage your student to visit them. Student associations is also something else that may be good to keep in mind. So there is a departmental student association for every department on this campus. So we have a management economics students association called MESA. We have a biology student association called BIOSA. We have an environment and physical science student association called EPSA. Are you hearing a trend? It's always something SA, right, for student association. questions about academic policies and procedures. So we really want your student to develop academic skills. That means language skills, that means writing skills, that means time management, test taking, research skills, right? So again, us at the Academic Advising Career Center, folks at the Center for Teaching and Learning, English Language Development Center, Library, Math and Stats, Writing Center, we're all here to support them in developing these skills. In terms of health, I mentioned we do have a health and wellness center, which is equipped with medical doctors and nurses, and also psychiatrists, okay? So if your student is feeling unwell, they can go walk into the health and wellness center, and they will be doing a drop-in with a nurse that will help determine what's the best treatment. We also have a team of counselors and social workers that provide individual and group psychotherapy. We also have a team of health educators and promoters that, again, host a variety of programming and teaching students about healthy behavior. We also provide spiritual guidance. We have 15 religious and spiritual leaders across campus. And of course, we also have the athletic department that hosts a variety of physical activities to keep students active and moving and healthy. And if your student has a diagnosed learning physical disability, then we do encourage you to reach out to accessibility services so they can receive the proper accommodations on campus to succeed. We also realize this is a stressful time for students, and they're at that period usually in their lives that mental health issues arise. And we realize we cannot be there for them 24/7. So the university has subscribed to TELUS Health, which is an online tool available 24/7 in multiple languages. So if resources on campus is not available, then we do encourage students to tap into online support. In terms of safety and security on campus, we do have special constables to ensure safety. You may sometimes see them patrol campus, walk around. We also have a community safety office. We have a travel safer program, so if your student is here late at night and feels unsafe walking to the parking lot or waiting at the bus stop, then they can call a number to have someone wait with them or to have someone walk them to the parking lot. A lot of what we do regarding safety and security, I like to think that we take preventative measures, okay? So with sexual violence and education, with fire, we try to have a lot of awareness campaigns around campus so people know if they're caught in that situation, you know, what to do, how to get support. In terms of life and career supports, a lot of you were talking about co-op, so certainly there is a co-op, there's an entire department, a team of people. There might be as big as our office that they support co-op students, okay? So they have a team of people that go out to talk to employers, to find co-op jobs, so students have co-op jobs that they can apply to. At the Academic Advising and Career Center, I think I told you quite a bit about us, but essentially we also provide opportunities. We do one-on-one appointment with students to talk about career planning, career counseling, okay? Student Life International Student Center and Residence, they also do a lot of different programming. International Student Center global, okay? So if your student is interested in doing exchange program, if your student is interested in doing summer abroad, right? International Student Center has the people to support them in pursuing those opportunities. Residents, of course, they support students living on residence, but they also provide support to people living off campus housing, okay? So if your student is living off campus, they do organize activities to still create that community for people who are living off campus. But if they're encountering issues with the rental agreement, they can also check in with the off-campus housing coordinator for support. And of course, if they have any financial concerns, we do encourage them to check in with the financial aid office. That's part of the registrar's office. So they can tell them about the different options or bursaries that the student may be eligible for. So in terms of planning for their future, again, the number one tip is really encouraging them to organize their time so they can find time to get involved, okay? So again, UTSC has over 250 clubs. And I always challenge the student that if you're not able to find a club that aligns with your interest, you can start your own. Every year, we have students starting their own clubs, okay? And I mean, a lot of time, the clubs also come and go depending on some of the things we're seeing popular in culture, right? I don't know if it's still in existence, but a few years ago, we had a Quidditch club for the Harry Potter fans, right? Now I think we have anime club, we have K-pop clubs, right? So I really challenge students. I'm like, you must be able to find something you like. So in addition to clubs, I already mentioned the Departmental Student Association. Remember all the SAS, right? If your student is, ambitious, I guess I can say, they can also join the student government as a first-year representative, okay? So I don't ever want a student to think, oh, I'm only first year, there's no opportunities for me. Not true at all, right? Even all the Departmental Student Association, they always are recruiting first-year representatives. So there's always opportunity to participate. We also run a lot of different peer programs, such as our first-year peers, right? So each of your students should have been connected with a first-year peer, right? If they haven't, definitely ask them to check their junk mail, okay? Or reach out so we can make sure they're connected. I already mentioned on the Career and Co-Curricular Learning Network, CLNX. They can find volunteer opportunities, they can find part-time opportunities, they can find work-study opportunities, and research opportunities. So I want to highlight work-study a little bit because it's a great opportunity for first-year students. Again, I hear a lot of time, oh, first-year student, it's too early to participate in work-study. Absolutely not, okay? Work-study, like the name suggests, you have to be studying at the same time you're working. Work-study program is all on-campus employment opportunities. There are two streams. One is called research stream, and the other is called regular work stream. Research stream, like the name suggests, most of the jobs are working with professors on their research projects. And then regular work stream is everything else. So it could be, for example, a part-time job working in our office, doing our social media marketing, doing our front desk reception, doing research projects for us. Or it could be working at the library, working at the gallery, working at the sports center, okay? Lots of opportunities, and it always surprises students when I say, at the end of each year, we compile stats. There are jobs that go unfilled, okay? We have have jobs that students don't apply to. Okay? So really encouraging students to apply. And I'm also going to do a selfish plug. In August, as part of our Prep Yourself series, I believe, I can look up the date, but August 20th, I believe, we are doing a work study orientation and a resume workshop for incoming students, such as your students, right? Because we want to tell them about work study, we want them to get their resumes ready. They can start applying to work study as early as this August. Okay? We don't want them to wait. Okay? So lots of opportunities. And again, we share this with your student, but as a career counselor, students are coming in and they're chatting with me. They have big goals and great dreams. And I want to support them, right? But a lot of time in first year, my suggestions or my tips are kind of generic, right? Because I want them to get the highest grades possible, right? So I want them to pick courses, pick programs that they can do well in. Okay? How many of your students are aspiring for medicine? Nobody? Are we just being shy? Law school. Occupational therapy, nursing, dentistry. Yeah? Okay. Right? These are very common, popular goals students have, which is great. Okay? But number one hurdle to those professional programs is good grades. Okay? And again, a lot of times students get stuck with, I have to do a specialist in biology if I want to pursue medicine. Or I have to do biochemistry if I want to go into dentistry. Or I have to do this program in order to get to that profession. 99% of the time, it is not true. Okay? It hurts me every time when I see a student in fourth year and they tell me, I did a biology major because I thought I had to, even though I don't like it, I get low marks in it, but I stuck with it. Okay? When they could have been earning higher marks in other courses, other subjects, that will actually give them more options. Okay? So we do encourage students to come in and share their goals so we can help them with the planning. But essentially, my advice to any first year is get those good grades, try your very best, find time to engage in different experiences, because those experiences are going to help you build your CV or your resume. It's going to give you things that you can talk about during an interview, right? For further education, again, don't get me wrong. A lot of times, further education programs do require specific courses. But I can tell you from 15 years of career counseling, I have never seen a professional program ask for a specific major or specialist. Okay? So, give your student that flexibility to pick courses and pick programs based on their strength. And we're also talking to students about building relationships, because another really common thread is they're going to need references, whether they're applying to further education or whether they're applying to a job. Chances are they're going to need references. So get them visiting those professors starting off in first year so they can start building those relationships. Okay? I also want to talk a little bit about many paths to a destination. So again, we know our students all have great goals that they're going for, but we also want to share with them that some entry-level jobs, right, that students are often looking forward to. But again, we want to share that computer science is not the only way